Hello everybody, this is Oak Tree Tarot Reader here and welcome to my pick a card video. So today's question is, why has this happened? So this can be something positive as well as negative that's happened in your life. It's probably come as a bit of a surprise or a shock and you're sort of reeling and flapping around and doing as we all do, which is, why has this happened, or even why the hell has this happened? And you're really not sure, what the message is, what the purpose of it is, and what you're meant to learn from it. So hopefully this reading will help you come to see the value in what you've experienced, that there is something to be had from it, even if it's incredibly painful and unpleasant and you would rather that it didn't happen to you. There is something positive to be gleaned from it, and I would always advise that you do that, because quite often it helps recovery from it, really, even if it's such a minor thing as a fight with a friend or your partner and you're thinking, why has this happened, or it's something really, really dramatic. So yeah, why has this happened? So bearing in mind that this thing that's happened could be anything for any one of the many people that will hopefully watch this YouTube video, you have to take what resonates and leave aside that which does not resonate. There might be only part of the reading that really strikes you and you feel will help you go on and answer the question of why this has happened. So yeah, so just take what makes sense, because not all of it will resonate with you. But we have options 1, 2, 3 and 4. I'm going to put the timestamps to these 4 readings in the description box and pin it as top comment. In the description box you will find all the various details to follow me on Instagram and email me for private readings. If you want to just email me generally, you can, and that's oaktreetarotread@gmail.com. But otherwise, what I want you to do now is focus on the question, why has this happened? I want you to take a few deep breaths, relax, close your eyes, focus on what's happened, and then ask yourself the question. And when you feel ready, choose between one of the 4 readings. If you want a little bit more time to do that, then please press pause right now, because I'm going to be moving on to the first reading. Okay, those of you that chose option 1, this is your reading. So the wild wisdom of the fairy oracle is, why has this happened? And then we've got the Shadowscapes Tarot, which will be what you're meant to learn from it. So why has this thing happened? Why has it happened? Gatekeeper, fairy time, time shifts, dimensional slips. Green Man's Door, portals to fairy, wheel of the year, galactic and Gaian entry points. So why has this happened? You were meant to change. That's basically, you were meant to change. You were meant to stop being who you were before and to now become the person that you're going to be because of this thing happening. So whether it's the loss of a job, the ending of a relationship, the sudden need or to move or whatever, you were meant to change. Maybe you were a bit stagnant the way you were before. Maybe you were to learn if where you have been before you were in a bad situation, maybe you were to learn the value of guarding your home, not literally, but guarding what's important to you, sort of recognizing the value of who you let into your life. So if you've had a bad relationship or a few bad friendships, it's to teach you to be discerning with who you associate, who you trust. It doesn't mean that all friends and all partners will be terrible. It just means that you'll start to think, maybe that sort of person isn't the right one for me. Portals to fairy, wheel of these things were just meant to change. We were meant to grow and develop from this. This is why you were meant to grow. Some of you literally grow up, as in you're considerably maturer now. But yeah, you were just meant to grow up. You were meant to change. So I do feel that some of you might have been quite stagnant and not necessarily underdeveloped or undeveloped, But whatever's happened was meant to shift you from where you were to where you are now. And this is why it's happened. You were just meant to be shoved along. What you're meant to learn from this is the important one that I'm going to spend more time on. What you were meant to learn from this. 8 of Cups, 4 of Swords, 3 of Swords. You were meant to learn emotional maturity. You were meant to develop and grow emotionally. 8 of Cups. This is about moving on, you know, letting go of things, sort of, and it's emotionally because it's cups, and creatively. For some of you, this might be a creative thing, and I'm going to include that because like we've got words and emotions. You are meant to move on emotionally and grow from this, and sort of learn to let go of the things perhaps that you couldn't control, or that hurt you, or that filled you with unhealthy emotions. And this is why you were sort of shuffled along and sort of forced through another gate, because we've got gatekeeper and door. You know, there's something about what you let into your life, who you let into your life, and this is why this has happened, to teach you. Maybe it's to teach you to not hold on to people so much, to not be a clinger, to not be somebody that is codependent. You are to learn from this. You are meant to learn from this, to think more, to you know, retreat from it and think about it, strategize, understand the process. You know, this lady, I believe it's a lady, might be a gentleman, is lying on their back, holding on to one sword. This is the thought. That's their conscious thought that's really active in their brain. But while they're sleeping, their subconscious is working away, and that's represented by the 3 swords. The things that are going on behind the brain. You are meant to retreat mentally and like carry on with your life and do the usual things. But inside your head, where you're truly alone, to think about things and to understand them. Go over the words. You know, adapt them, change them, grow from it. You're meant to learn how to control your thoughts. Some of you, it's about controlling your thoughts in that you don't start spouting out and over talking and being too honest, or more likely far too blunt. You know, that you learn to hold your tongue. And the 3 of Swords, which, I mean, it's a sad card anyway, but in this deck, I always find it heartbreaking, even though I don't necessarily subscribe complete heartbreak to this card at all. For me, the 3 of Swords is always about controlling your emotions. So if your emotions are fear, hate and anger, it's about controlling those. If your emotions are overwhelming you with feelings of love that are verging on obsession, about controlling those. It's about controlling your emotions. And I think that's what you were meant to learn, and that's amplified for me by the 8 of Cups and the 4 of Swords, a sort of card about mental retreat. You were meant to learn to control your feelings, whether they were extremely positive but more likely incredibly negative. So whether you have feelings of self-doubt and hatred or insecurity, you're meant to learn to overcome those. You know, so if you're the sort of person that lies back and sort of everybody says, oh, you're great, you're such a great friend, you're really attractive, I love spending time with you, you're so much fun, and deep down you're going, they're lying because I'm a loser. And they only want to be around with me because I pay for everything, or they only want to be around me because I put on a show and I'm like the clown. You know, you're meant to learn that that's not the truth. Or in some of your cases, that was the truth. If you're suddenly being, you know, separated from a bad crowd, you're meant to learn all of these things, but that they were doing them, that they were saying these things to you, that they were, you know, what your secret thoughts about what they must be thinking, you're learning to control them, to not listen to what their opinion is, and to not allow your feelings of negativity to fall into the trap of being with unhealthy people. or an unhealthy relationship, whether it's a partner. But definitely to control your emotions, or to have your heart touched by words. You know, if you're thinking this is a more positive thing and somebody has said something, you know, like when you listen to a song and the tune's brilliant, the melody's wonderful, but then you actually examine the lyrics and you're bowled over by the truth of the lyric, and sort of the lyrics are just so overwhelming, but you've sort of been so focused on the tune, the music, that you've missed the beauty of the words. You know, that's that kind of thing, that you have your heart touched by words, or a poem, or like lines in a film or something. You are meant to learn from that, words touching you. Whether they're your own or someone else's, you are meant to learn from that. Yeah. I feel there's been a lot of self-control achieved here through this thing that's happened, and so don't let it go, don't tighten the screw too much. You know, you still want to be open to new experiences and new people, but you want to take the wisdom that you have learned from what's happened with you in order to make a greater success of whatever, you know, life afterwards. Yeah, that's it. That is your reading, those of you that chose option 1. I hope that it's helped you, that it's resonated with you, that it helps you understand what's happened. Even if it's not a clear answer, it's given you something to think about so that you can come to your own conclusions about what happened. So if you do want a private reading, email me on oaktreetarotreader@gmail.com. Please take very good care of yourself. I wish you all the best of luck for the future, and thank you very much for listening to me. Bye. Okay, those of you that chose option 2, this is your reading. So we've got the Wild Wisdom of the Fairy Oracle, which is why has this happened, and then we've got the Shadowscapes Tarot, which is what you're meant to learn from it. So we have fairy tales, letting go, detachment, moving on. Beauty and the Beast, unconditional love. Okay, so you were absolutely meant to learn. I mean, it's obviously like letting go, but you were meant to learn to let go of your like sort of preconceived ideas about people, like beauty, because it's Beauty and the Beast that's important here. Beauty loved the Beast unconditionally. She didn't love him because of the way he looked. You know, every time she rejected the Beast, like, it was a shock. Yes, he's a beast. He's all hairy and he's like a part of monster. But when he was mean to her, she rejected him. But when he started to soften up and try harder and try to be a nicer person to her, she really opened up and fell in love with the Beast, because she fell in love with who he really is versus what he looked like. So for some of you, yes, it's about being far too focused on someone's looks or their status in society, like are they wealthy, are they poor. Some of you have been far too focused on not being around somebody that doesn't fit into your ideal of what is beautiful or acceptable, whether that's to do with like their literal physicality of like, oh, only people that blonde hair and blue eyes are gorgeous, or green eyes are gorgeous. It could also be what they're into. So do they have to be completely fit and healthy? Or they sort of have to go and spend 3 hours a week in the gym? Or do they have to have a certain type of intellect and read the same sort of books that you read, or like the same sort of films? And so what's happened is that you have been this has happened to allow you to leave that behind, to leave something behind. Whether it's literally a partner that you've been with because you thought they were so good looking and really wanted to make it work because they had a great job that paid well and you really fancied them. But the more you got to know them, the more incompatible they seemed to you. This has happened to sort of teach you. I mean, I haven't looked at what you're meant to learn from it card yet, but even from these two, I think that what you've been taught is to let that go, and that really you need somebody that's more in line with what you are underneath. You know, not focus on the wrapper, but what the contents is, because this woman is sort of moving on, and she's sort of looking back at this man, but she's sort of moving on and letting him just stew in what's happened. So this has happened to you to teach you to detach and move on from the things that you don't need anymore. So if it's not about, you know, how people look and all the rest of it, for you, it's about teaching you to be able to be detached from something, perhaps the things that you can't control. So what do you need to learn from this? 5 of Pentacles, Queen of Swords, Page of Pentacles. You were meant to learn what it's like to be in want, to be the excluded one, to be left out in the cold, sort of, you know. This woman here has 1 pentacle and there's 4 glorious Technicolor pentacles there at the top. You are meant to learn what it's like to be the outsider. So maybe you have been judged by your looks and found wanting. You have been judged by your abilities and your achievements and have been found wanting, and it wasn't very pleasant. And I don't, you know, that's no surprise. It's not very nice to suddenly find that the things you've worked very hard on are worthless to other people. But that doesn't mean that they're worthless. It just means that other people don't value them. The important thing is that you value them. So you've experienced, you're meant to learn what it's like to be the outsider, to be the dispossessed and the homeless and the person that doesn't have enough. You're also meant to learn how to judge with your logic, with your mind, but not without compassion. The Queen of Swords is a compassionate lady. She just doesn't allow her emotions to overwhelm her. You know, the Queen of Cups sometimes can get overly emotional, but by and large, the Queen of Swords can make a logical, unbiased decision. And this is what you were meant to have learnt. And it draws me back to the Beauty and the Beast, that Beauty did not judge the Beast by his looks, but by his actions. And this is what you are meant to learn. You are meant to learn to judge people by what they say and what they do, and not by what they look like or on the surface what's going on with them. Page of Pentacles. It's getting an education. Page of Pentacles is the student card. It's somebody that's going out in order to send the message, receive the message, and it's all to do with tangible effort. So it's like the energies you put into things, the money, the assets. And your education is an asset, and it's a valuable one. And it's not only the education that you have on a certificate that you can put on your wall. It's like that old saying, the University of Life. The University of Life has sent you a lesson and you must learn it. And it's really something to do with judging people. Probably unfairly, but certainly judging people based on a bias or an expectation or a certain shallowness, like, you know, judging someone on the way they look or they dress or what they're into. Yeah, you were meant to learn a big, deep lesson, in a sense, about unconditional love. So this is why that's happened, those of you that chose option 2, a nice, clear message. You are meant to see what it's like living in someone else's shoes, I suspect, for some of you. But let me know in the comments section if it resonates and if it's helped you in any way. If you do want a private reading based on this or any of my other videos or whatever, then email me on oaktreetarotreader@gmail.com. And I wish you all the best of luck for the future. Please take very good care of yourself. And thank you very much for listening to me. Bye. Okay, those of you that chose option 3, this is your reading. So we have the Wild Wisdom of the Fairy Oracle, which is answering the question, why did this happen? And I've also got the Shadowscapes Tarot, which is what you are meant to learn from this. So why has this happened? Mother and daughter, mothering, teaching, sharing knowledge, nurturing self-worth. Crystal magic, creation, dawn, the beginning. Okay, I'm feeling almost that even if some of you don't feel it's a positive thing that's happened, it is. Because it's meant to teach you. It's like maternal love, because it's mother and daughter. It's mothering, sharing knowledge, nurturing your self-worth. You are meant to love yourself. This is why this has happened. So even if it's a bit of a stinker of an experience, it's happened to teach you self-love, that you are of value, that other people love you. Hopefully your mother loves you. You know, mothers tend to be generous, loving, and they share their knowledge. They want you to lead your best life, and they want you to eat well and survive out there and be safe and all the rest of it. And there's different opinions on how to do that, and that's the differences in parenting. And this extends to fathers as well. So if you're a man and you're thinking about fatherhood, it still applies. You still want to nurture your child, but just it tends to be a more masculine viewpoint. But it's definitely about sharing knowledge. You are meant to share something, and whether that's through a maternal energy, whether it's literally you and a child, or whether you can be quite a maternal person, and you are meant to nurture your own self-worth, or possibly that of others. Yeah, that's lovely. I mean, that's such a lovely card anyway. But you are meant to do, this is why this has happened, that you are meant to do that. You are also meant to be uninhibited. I mean, look at her there. She's just happily dancing. She doesn't care about anybody else. She's just there having the time of her life. So you're meant to just be excited and enthusiastic and uninhibited about, you know, life, I think. So whatever's happened is really meant to teach you to value life and to nurture your own life and that in others, because we've got creation, dawn, the beginning. This has happened to give you a new beginning in life, in relationships, in your attitudes, however that manifests for you. That's quite a simple message for me. So what are you meant to learn from it? I mean, I sort of feel I've already said that, but Four of Pentacles, Knight of Swords, and the Page of Swords. Yeah. You're meant to communicate what you've learned through life, through this experience. You're meant to learn what is of true value. This seems to me like the mother, you know, she's become a parent, she knows what's of true value, and that's the baby. Being with the baby, nurturing it, taking care of it, making sure it's sheltered and protected. That's what's of true value to her. So you're meant to learn from this what's really important in your life, what's of true value, and to keep it safe and protect it. You know, the Four of Pentacles, this dragon, he's holding on to his pentacle. He's, you know, nobody's going to get that pentacle. And sort of the card is then seen as someone being stingy and closed off and unopen. But the moment you have the same image transferred into a mother and child, it's completely transformed into a nurturing one full of protection and love. So this has happened to teach you the value of what's important and what you need to protect and love. And whether it's actually a child or whether it's an idea, a viewpoint, yourself, your self-worth, it doesn't matter. This is what you're meant to learn from it. You're meant to learn to nurture those things and protect them. You are meant to go off and sort of spread the word, to think about what you're saying and how you're saying it. You know, the Knight of Swords is ready and roaring to go and to take his message, to give the message. You know, he's a fast mover. He's not going to let anything stop him. And so this is what this was meant to teach you, that there's no hesitation in what you say. I mean, it's ideally you'd be thinking about what you say, but this is meant to teach you to not wait and hesitate, to move forward in confidence with what you want to say. The uninhibited part of this card. The ecstatic. I think that's the word it says in the book, ecstatic. Page of Swords. What strikes me is, again, we've got another image of a child being nurtured. I mean, this is a baby swan, a cygnet, nurtured by not a swan but by the Page of Swords. This is about getting out there and learning and protecting and considering the words that you offer out, and nurturing an idea and allowing it to develop. So what you're meant to learn from this is to learn and develop, I think, your ideas about, for some of you, what parenthood is, but also about what your creation is, and the sharing of knowledge. I mean, we've got the sharing of knowledge and 2 swords cards about learning, and sort of, again, the student card, intellectual student perhaps, and about spreading the message and going out there and saying your truth. You know, but with this idea of protection, and, you know, she's not alone, she's got all the swans with her, but there's a protectiveness of the baby swan, because it's the nurturing of a new idea. And this is what you're meant to learn, to nurture the new ideas within you. So if this isn't representative of actual parenthood, it's going to be, I suspect, something that you're creating, whether it's an artistic creation, whether it's a new business, or you know, an entrepreneurship, whatever. This is why this has happened. This is what you're meant to learn from it. Very much to shield and nurture. Shield and nurture important and new thoughts. And this is why that's happened. I mean, I really enjoyed that reading. It's quite exciting, that one. You know, it's almost like you've got to nurture these, share the knowledge and nurture and mother and teach, and, you know, this sense of self, whether that's what you're meant to nurture within you or others. So those of you that chose option 3, that's your reading. Please let me know in the comments section if it resonates, if it's made any sort of sense to you. If you want a private reading with me, then email me on oaktreetarotreader@gmail.com and I will send you the price list. Otherwise, I wish you all the best of luck for the future. Please take very good care of yourself, and thank you very much for listening to me. Bye. Okay, those of you that chose option 4, this is your reading. So I have the Wild Wisdom of the Fairy Oracle, which is, why has this thing happened? And then the 3 cards from the Shadowscapes Tarot to tell us what you're meant to learn from it. So we have Fairy Lovers, New Love, Courtship, Romance, Falling in Love, and Solace, Return to Nature, Tree Wisdom, Natural Remedies, and Flower Essences. So why did this thing happen? I think the only way I can really see this is a relationship, most likely to be a romantic one, but for some of you it might be just a close friendship or a great work relationship. Because it's so general, I'm going to include those, but you are meant to have this connection with this person, and I suspect in order to learn how to deal with things when they're finished. It's something to do with returning to your nature. I mean, this card generally means about going back into nature, like going for long walks and sitting next to a tree, but it has an overall feeling of sadness because of the darkness. That looks like the tree's dead and it looks like night and there's just little bits of light. It just looks sad, doesn't it? So I think this has happened in order to teach you about, I suspect, relationships and them ending, being in a relationship and then it falls apart. Whether the overall message of that is to know, you know, what a bad relationship is versus a good one, we'll see in a second. But I mean, that seems to me that, you know, overall, when a relationship ends, what you've got to learn from it is why it failed, and whether it's better that it failed rather than you carried on with what would have been quite maybe a toxic relationship for some of you, or a bad situation. So what were you meant to learn from this? Let's see if this helps me. 8 of Pentacles, 10 of Wands, 6 of Pentacles, yeah. You were meant to see what it's like to be in a really hard relationship. Whether that's because another relationship down, you're going to meet someone great and you're going to realise that it's not as hard as it was before, or whether you've just coasted along having a load of great relationships and this one taught you what it's like to be with someone that's demanding and controlling maybe, and not very nice, and yet that was like a karmic lesson for, you know, if you believe in that. Yeah, this relationship was meant to be for you and then end in order to teach you hard work is. The Eight of Pentacles, it's the hard work. It's becoming a master at your craft. It's about paying attention to the details and getting the job done. It's just working, working, working. You are meant to learn what hard work relationships are. Whether it's with a person that you've been with, whether it's specifically you're thinking, oh, that's the, you know, this person, this is why it's so hard because of them. I don't know. That depends on your individual relationships. But you are meant to learn what hard work relationships are, or what hard work is to be with your person of choice. You are meant to learn about the burdens of relationships. Again, whether it's the type of relationship or the type of person that you were going for or being in relationships with, you are meant to see what bloody hard work it is. You know, the Ten of Wands is about being burdened. She is holding up this tree that's full of a castle and life and everything that's going on in it. You are meant to learn that this is that this was hard slog. I think overall probably this relationship wasn't a good one or a healthy one, and you might not see that now, but you will come to see that. You are meant to learn about the balance of give and take in a relationship, because it's the Six of Pentacles. This young gentleman there is like playing a tune or doing whatever. The water is flowing the pentacles onto the plant and allowing it to grow and thrive. So I think that you are meant to learn what you need to invest, in a sense, into a relationship in order to make it thrive. Some of you might have been putting in far too much effort into this relationship. It was one-sided, that you put in all the assets, the money, you know, or you put all the emotional investment and the investment in your time, and they were just sort of when I can fit you in. For others of you, it was the other way around, that you really took and took and took in this relationship, and that you didn't give back, and that you were the burden and the one that was hard work, and that you are now meant to recognize that, because you're the one that's been left alone. For some of you, and be honest with yourself. If you're thinking, actually, I was a bit of a taker, you've got to learn from that. Otherwise, it will just keep happening and you'll make the same mistake over and over again. But I feel generally for the majority of you, you were serious investors in your relationship or in your workplace or your friendship, and they didn't really give you anything back. And you were meant to learn from whatever's happened to value the work that you put in, value the burdens that you put in, and value the, you know, the money, effort, time that you have put in, all the providing that you've done. You were meant to value that and expect, you know, in return, you know, what you put into a relationship. And this is why this has happened, and I really do think it's a love one. It's been a romance. Why has this happened? To show you what you're worth and what you should have in a good, decent, healthy, long-lasting relationship. Yeah, that's it to me. That's it. That's what you were meant. This is why this has happened, and this is what you were meant to learn from it. So those of you that chose option 4, a short but hopefully sweet one that resonates, please let me know in the comments section if it's helped you at all. If you do want a private reading based along this theme or any of my other videos, then email me on oaktreetarotreader@gmail.com and I will send you my price list and we can have a chat. Otherwise, I wish you all the best of luck for the future. Please take very good care of yourself, and thank you very much for listening to me. Bye.